Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Soccer Cards and Chill. I'm Adam. This is a podcast put out by us here at Futera. If you don't know about Futera, we have made beautiful sports cards for over 30 years. And this is a podcast for you if you love everything to do with the hobby, the beautiful hobby of collecting sports cards and stickers and other collectibles. Today, my guest is none other than Jake from MGC. Jake, thank you for joining us. First time we've been in the studio. You're christening it today, so
I'm impressed as well.
Yeah,
it is
cool,
very
isn't it?
special. Yeah, all the gear, obviously, all the setup with the cameras and the mics and stuff. Yeah, it's very, very cool.
So
Very
this podcast studio is one that I use where my office is here for Futera in the UK, and it's a company called Dissident that have put this studio together. It's wicked. It's a really nice
very
space,
cool.
isn't it?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem, mate. Thanks for coming up. So I think the best place to start, because I really want this podcast to be insightful for those that are particularly interested in grading and what that process looks like, which is the majority of the hobby, because most people who collect want to grade their cards at some point. So, but for imagine you're talking to a collectibles, a trading card normie. What is grading? How would you explain it to someone who doesn't know anything about this industry?
Yeah, it's quite straightforward. The first thing that we're looking at is the authentication of the card. So we authenticate a card to make sure it's genuine, and then we grade the condition of the card so you get an idea of what that card's condition is in. It essentially helps both kind of parties when kind of coming to sell the card, because one, you know it's authentic, and two, you know what the condition you're buying the card in. And that's pretty much grading. You know, it's very straightforward. We give the card a grade from 1 to 10. So it's a kind of a scale we have there. And then, we're just kind of looking to make sure that the card is authentic, getting it sealed and getting it slabbed and protected back to you.
Why do people get their cards graded? What do you think the main motivations are? I imagine this is something you've thought about a lot running a graded company.
Yeah, I think there's two things to it. And one thing I think is forgotten a lot about. But obviously the first thing is the authentication. They want to make sure the card is genuine, and they want to know that when they sell the card, that the other person's going to know it's genuine as well. The grade side of it is obviously also important because it gives you the condition. And like we see, obviously with grade 10s, grade 9s, you normally see a premium added onto that because you know the card's in a better condition. The other side of grading, which I think is a little bit forgotten about, but it's fun. You know, you're kind of unboxing that card once again for the second time.
It's like, that's a good point.
Exactly. And I think people miss that. You know, there's a lot of people in the UK say, oh, why do you grade with a UK company, or why do you not just send it to the US? Well, because I want to just get a card graded for a fair price, and I want to kind of get it back quickly, and I want to open it up and see what it got. You know, I'm not going to ever sell that card, but I like the fact that it's protected, and like the fact that I got that moment, that feeling of when I got to see that card again and see what grade it got. I think that's forgotten a little bit now. You know, I think people care too much about the numbers and how much the card's worth, etc. When really there's an enjoyment in just kind of opening up cards.
Yeah, the same way as there is with just opening up boxes,
Exactly.
right? Or buying into breaks. Interesting that you mentioned there about you kind of did your own retort to a maybe a question that you would hear. That, like, why would I grade my cards with a newer company like yourself as opposed to PSA, and because PSA have been around and you're more of a challenger
they're
brand.
the number one for sure.
But you think people might be missing a trick there when they think about the question in that way?
Yeah, I think there's a few things in terms of MGC and PSA, miles apart. You know, they really are. In terms of the actual service, I think we're very, very close. The only fact that they've got on us is reputation. Reputation, and maybe some technology as well, with the millions that they've got behind them to go and push it out. But that's something we're looking to close the gap on for sure.
You've got speed on them, though.
We have got speed on them. We have got the fact that we're in the UK. We have got the fact that we don't upcharge and all these kind of things here that come into it, which is obviously a nice factor. Price-wise, obviously, we're more affordable. So there's a lot of benefits going for us. But of course, there's no reason to shade them because they essentially set the kind of the pathway for us to exist. Without PSA, would there be MGC? Probably not. So yeah, we're kind of thankful for that. We're now in a situation as well where we're kind of being welcomed into that group. We've just had the eBay authentication kind of approved, so we're now joined kind of an exclusive group as such of kind of top graders where we're listed as a professional grader on eBay. And we're the only sports grading company in the UK that's got that. So that's a huge, huge thing for us. I think maybe even in Europe as well. I need to double check that. But, outside the US, we're looking like one of the biggest players in the game, which is obviously really exciting for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's testament to what you've done in, was it 3 or 4 years that you've been
3
around?
years, yeah. So just coming up to, let's say that we had our 3-year birthday last month. So
Congratulations.
yeah, thank
Happy
you. Yeah,
third birthday for
and
last
that's it.
month.
And I think in business, a lot of people, it's the 3-year kind of predicament, is it? You know, if you
Yes.
can make it past the 3 years, you've got a business that can last.
Well, most businesses don't. So.
Most businesses don't. Yeah, I think it's something like 18% of business make it, don't they? So you know, it's quite a small
18% make it?
I
Oh, really?
think so,
Okay.
yeah. So it's, you know, pretty cool that we've got there, and now we're just looking to build on it and keep growing and kind of get to the kind of the limit of where we can go with the UK. I think that's kind of the main thing.
So take me back then to when you thought about starting something like MGC.
Yep.
Around, if I'm thinking about time frames, I assume it was around the COVID time when you were
Yeah, so
sitting
it was
around.
around COVID.
Were you doing something else and you decided you just wanted to move into
Yeah,
this?
I've always been involved in kind of trying small businesses, trying to set things up. Obviously, very kind of involved in kind of the card market, buying and selling cards and things like that, which is now kind of taken a complete step back because I can't really do that anymore. You know, I feel that when I'm kind of selling cards or buying cards, you know, it's MGC, so I kind of have to be very careful with that side of things. But yeah, I was kind of sitting there and I was sending cards off to PSA and thinking, I'm waiting nearly, you know, at the time, turnaround times were like 2 years in some cases. I remember a Beckett submission took 2 years. I thought, why are we doing this? Like, why is there not an option in the UK just to do this? Started looking around. There was no one. I thought, okay, this could be possible. But the problem I had is I didn't have the knowledge in certain areas. So I was like, okay, well, we can go into sports cards, we can go into Pokemon, but all the other areas I don't know about. You know, it's not my kind of game. So that's where I started to kind of see if other people wanted to get involved. So that not really people wanted to be a part of it. And then I found a couple of guys that were looking to bring on board. So I brought them on board and they joined MGC. And then funded the project, ordered the machinery from kind of China. We had the machines come in. Before that, I actually went to buy the machines in the UK, and I remember turning up at the office and to buy these machines, and they said to me, "Oh yeah, this is the one." So I went for it. I said, "Yeah, perfect." I said that machine will be brilliant, and they said, "Okay, would you want to go for it?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take 2." And they said, "Oh, cool, yeah, that's fine. How would you want to pay? Do you want to do a lease? Do you want to do bank transfer, etc.?" And I said, "Oh no, I've got the cash in the car." And they went, "You've got 48 grand in the car." And I went, "No, I've got 4,800 in the car. I've got 4,800. I thought it was 4,800 for the machines." They're like, "No, they're 48 grand a machine." I'm thinking, oh, my dreams already stopped.
So how did you get that wrong? Like, had you been given like?
I just had a phone call with the guy, and I you know,
you misheard, maybe a bit excited.
Yeah, misheard.
Right.
I don't know. To this day, I still think he said that. Maybe he just lured me in there. But yeah, I turned up there and I thought, you know, and still that was
48 grand. What are you doing?
Yeah, I was thinking, he's like, "You've got 48 grand in the car," and this was in Luton as well. He's like, "You got 48 grand in Luton?" I said, "No, I haven't. No, I've got 4,800. This is like my savings that I've built up to put into this business."
Right.
You know, I'm putting all my money into this kind of idea that I've got, and yeah, ended up saving up some more money. Went back to the drawing board, and ended up purchasing some machines, the exact same machines from China. And the great thing about it was as well that we ended up meeting the manufacturers of the machines that are made by PSA that Beckett use. So I was like, okay, well, we're with the right people, so we're already in it. So yeah.
So when you say these machines,
Yep.
like I'm thinking of something really elaborate, like a little kind of like tiny little thing where you look through magnifying glass and all. What do they look like?
The magnification is, so the machine I'm talking about doesn't do the grading. It's more for the encapsulation of the actual item itself.
Okay.
To safely encapsulate it.
So is the grading done manually with like
grading's done in 2 ways. So we have magnification,
yeah,
and then we also have kind of a high-res scanner that the cards go through, and then we can blow up the images of the cards as well, so you can really see into the pixels of the cards to make sure the printing matches how the card should be printed. So that's done on not every single card, because you can tell quite easily from most cards whether it's genuine or not. But there is a few, especially with the vintage cards, where you need to really go into the detail and see if it was printed on a modern printer or an old printer as such.
So wait, can you tell that then? Because that was going to be like my next question. How do you know if something is authentic or not?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different tests out there depending on different products and things like that. But a lot of the time, you know, there's with feel, you can tell a lot of the time with the texture of cards. When you zoom right into the pixels and you can actually see the way the card's printed, that gives it away a lot of the time. So if you put, say, for instance, 2 Pokemon cards to either side, one fake, one real, if you zoomed into that card there, you'd be able to see the pixels are completely different the way it's printed. Coloration is different, so many different things. In terms of just kind of basics, for people out there that want to check their cards, there's so many different kind of YouTube videos, blogs online and things that you can go and have a look and just hold the card up to it and check it, and see what it says versus what's there. And majority of the time, you'll be able to probably work it out for yourself.
Right. Okay. Very interesting. So how skilled do you have to be to like grade a card? Like,
Yep.
Do you need to be a collector yourself?
Yeah, 100% you need to be a collector. And this is where
Why do you need to be a collector yourself?
I think you need to be involved in it. You need to know about it. You want to care about it, and that's not so much on the grading side, but more on the fact of you're holding people's, pride and joys. So I wouldn't really want to trust myself with someone that's not a collector holding my cards.
I understand.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because
It's
otherwise...
like you wouldn't really trust your kids with somebody who hasn't had kids.
Exactly,
for a prolonged amount of time.
100%, So I think it's kind of things like the way that
they're important to you, aren't they? Maybe not as much as your kids. Well, depending on how you get on with your kids, but they're important. Is my point.
That's it, and it's little things.
I should have used a different analogy. I should have used dogs or something like that. Maybe like
it's a strange analogy, but
you wouldn't give your dog to somebody who.
No, I think a car would probably be the best one. You wouldn't let someone else drive.
Not a living thing, right?
Yeah, okay. But I think it's one of them with kind of cards. You watch people who don't hold cards on a regular basis. And it freaks you out. Like, I know it sounds really stupid.
No, I know,
I know. And you're like, what are you doing?
I know.
They're like got claw hands, and they, and you're like, just chill, But same with like top load and things and sleeve and stuff as well. And seeing people's mind explode over a top loader for the first time of trying to put a card in it is kind of a bit fascinating. But that's why I think it's important to have collectors grading, because the first thing is that someone else knows how to handle cards properly. They know how important that card potentially is to you as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to treat it in the same way that their cards are there. Why MGC stand out in the UK for me, and looking from the outside as such, is we have graders that grade different items. So, for instance, where you might have one grader with another company that grades, sports cards, Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball, etc., all the other brands that are out there. And then with our guys is we have specific graders for different things. Even down to our coin brand now, MGC Numismatics. We have coin graders that solely grade coins. We have sports graders that solely grade sports cards. So we have that knowledge within each kind of category, which makes us kind of grade better, I believe, and make sure that each kind of person that's looking at that has got the best knowledge that they possibly can on that kind of sector. Which I think is a key thing.
It is a key thing for sure. But I get it. I mean, I'm some of these questions probably sounds like they're obvious, but I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody who doesn't know too much about grading. It's funny what you said about the holding cards as well. Every now and again, when I do a signing session with a player, now when we do these signing sessions, as you know, our cards, our autographs are on card, which we're very proud of here because, as far as I'm aware, not too many other brands do that.
Yep.
But the cards are like they're not actually completed yet, so it's just the front that the player's signing, and then obviously we attach the back when it's then the completed card.
Right.
So it looks a little bit more flimsy. So every now and again I'll get questions where people are like, that card looks really flimsy.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah,
because it goes on, because
so
obviously
you layer it up essentially.
Yeah, because we put those details. You imagine if we made the cards, and then I had to change the date. The date would be different on the back of the cards, and that's one of the most important elements.
Yeah,
I get them signed, then they go back off to production then, and then the card is completed. But the player's still signing on cards.
Yeah.
But what's funny is sometimes I'll get comments underneath like, who's it? I had someone and they were like, "Oh, easy on the Ben there, Gaza." It was Gaza, I think, because he was like holding one in a weird way.
Yeah.
So yes, I know that collectors are quite particular about that. So yeah, we've talked about kind of what the points of difference for MGC and other companies, and I think that's really important that you have people that are knowledgeable of the space grading the cards 100%. And have a passion for that particular vertical, right? Yep. So if I'm into sports cards, whatever, I'm a big football fan, I'm gonna be able to identify things a little bit better if I'm into coins.
Yep.
How easy was it to find somebody who's like big into coins?
Yeah, it was an interesting one.
Where did you go for that? You can't just go on like Read, can you? Or something like that?
No, you can't.
Job site.
So we reached out to numerous people, and we've managed to find 2 guys that have kind of helped us with that project there. The unique thing with that project is they've come in as more of partners of the business. So it's a separate business to it. It's like a sister business. They've come in as partners on the basis that I feel the brand MGC works perfectly with the coin market as well in terms of the coin grading, the logo, the branding, Majesty grading, all that kind of stuff there. It fits well, doesn't it? But I haven't got the knowledge on it. I've got a little bit of knowledge on it. I've started collecting myself, and I've started kind of buying a few bits of silver and gold and stuff just to, embrace it.
Jake.
Yeah,
you're prepping.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Times are crazy. Who knows?
Who knows what's going to happen?
So what's the oldest coin that you've got?
The oldest coin I've got, probably something from Gibraltar. My dad was from Gibraltar, so I brought a lot of things when I went over there. I brought some coins there. I do have some Roman coins as well, so they're going to be very old. So I've got a few bits. I've brought a few little bits. I brought a few small silver bars as well and stuff.
You have embraced
I'm
it,
prepping, mate. I'm prepping. I've got my doomsday hat on and everything.
Although as they do say online, you can't eat gold.
That's it.
However, I imagine it's quite useful in those situations. So again, that's brilliant. Trying to pull in that intellect. I do want to pick up on something as well, where I think you've tapped into as a marketeer is the brand Majesty Grading Company, Majesty being associated with the Crown here in Britain, and that was intentional, was it? Then I assume, because you were a British-based grading company. Yeah,
so I wanted it to kind of represent obviously Great Britain. The other thing that was quite important to myself is I needed to make sure that I had 3 letters. So that was the whole thing. It needed to have 3 letters. PSA, BGS, SGC has to be 3 letters. If you're not 3 letters, there's no point you being in the game because everyone else is working on 3 letters throughout the process. So that then led me to thinking, okay, what sounds good? So first went NGC. NGC, biggest coin grading company in the world. Can't use that. Okay. So I started working through it, and I just worked through the alphabet until I found something that I felt well. And MGC just has a real nice catch to it. I think it works well. So I stumbled across it really. And then I was kind of thinking, okay, well, I've got to find something to now fit with M. I need to find a word that fits with her. So I went through a whole kind of words of what works well. And then Majesty popped up and, okay, it kind of fits with the British theme that I'm going for. I had the Union Jack flag on the back as well, which I needed. So that kind of tied in well. And then we had to go and find, obviously, the logos and stuff for that to kind of marry it all together. And a lion with a crown is kind of the regal thing. And it all fits together quite nicely. And that's how Majesty Grading Company was just kind of put together in terms of a name-wise. I probably spent maybe 10, 15 minutes on thinking of the name and the brand. If it wasn't much for it. It was more in terms of the background of how it's going to work, how the operations are going to work, how the machinery is going to come in, all these kind of things. At the first bit, the marketing side of things was big, how we were going to market it, how we were going to get people involved in MGC rather than just the name. Because I think as long as you've got that 3 letters and something that rings, then you're fine.
Yeah, it's the concept. I think when people start businesses, they obsess over the name and 15 minutes sounds like it's about right, because that's what a lot of people say. A lot of entrepreneurs say that when they start businesses. I didn't, you gave it a bit of thought. There was a bit of science behind it. You've outlined that, but it wasn't like you obsessed over that before actually coming up with what it is you were going to do and how you were going to stand out.
And then you kind of, I know our main selling point at the beginning was always going to be we're British based. We were never trying to go and get the US market or any other market out there. We were just trying to win the UK market. So we have to kind of, build our brand that we are in the UK, and that's why we're here. So it all kind of fitted nicely. It's maybe a little bit of luck, maybe,
What annoys you the most about grading and this part of the hobby?
Probably opinions of people who have never graded with us. That's one thing that drives me mad. And I open it up to people and I say, just message me and try out for free. If you don't like it, then fair enough. At least you've tried it, I think we do a great job. I think our customer service is brilliant. I think that the process is really straightforward and easy. I think the product you get back is, to the same quality of any other grading company out there. The technology that we've got behind, our kind of MGC Secure Tech is brilliant. There's so much stuff out there that I think that we do where it does just kind of get sometimes, people just go, MGC are crap. You've never tried us. How do you know? When we've got over 800 members now using the MGC monthly membership club, kind of proves that wrong. Well, why are they using it so much, and why are they enjoying it so much? And when I go to shows or when I speak to people online, they say, "Thanks, Jake. Do you know how much money you've made me from grading cards with you?" One guy paid off his mortgage from just grading cards of MGC, selling them on eBay, grading them, selling, grading, selling. And I think to myself, that's really cool that we've achieved that. But there's so many people missing that gap where, for on the MGC membership, you're paying £7 a card. So to grade that card for £7, flip it on eBay, you're guaranteed, not guaranteed, but you're going to make profit. If you hit tens, you're going to make profit. And if you get an eye for it and you're looking to find out what grades well, you will end up making money from it, no doubt.
What are the main factors for a card getting a 10?
Okay, so in terms of I'm a little bit rusty on this because I don't grade at all anymore, but the centering has to be within kind of, I think it's 40, 60 at the moment that the guys are kind of dealing with in terms of sports cards wise. Obviously a little bit different with kind of Pokemon and stuff like that. Corners have to be perfect, edges have to be perfect, and the surface has to have no scratches whatsoever. You're allowed one print line, so you're allowed one print line on the card, but it has to be a minimal print line. It can't be a major print line. Otherwise, you're looking at 9s and things like that. But we grade in a 0.5 scale. So we don't actually give you a 9.5, but we grade in a 0.5 scale, if that makes sense. So it will either be rounded down or rounded up.
Will it? Okay, right.
Yeah.
And
that's why the print line comes in with that 9.5, because it can go up.
And I know you've just said there that you're not involved in physically grading things anymore because you've employed people to do that for you. But how do you see Futera cards graded when they hit your desk?
Yeah, they're graded. I haven't got my phone on me, but I remember some facts off the top that I went through last night. So we've graded 2,300 Futera cards now, which is a fair amount. Quite a few out there. Some really big ones as well, which I'm sure we'll go into. And I looked at kind of the gem rate as such, and there's a 72% gem rate with Futera, which is huge.
Right.
That means that 72% of cards that are graded with Futera are hitting them high marks of 10s.
Wow.
Well, that's crazy.
We're very proud of that.
Which is crazy. And I think if you look at the quality of Futera, the stock is always very, very good. The way that it's presented in a package to you is very, very good. I think because you go maybe down a route where, cards are individually packaged and they're already top loaded and things like that when they're sent to you, you're already protecting yourself through that transportation process, through the process of just kind of people opening up the envelopes and things like that. When you go down the packs that have all kind of been thrown into packs, thrown into boxes and then opened up and then placed into a top loader, there's so many more moving parts within that causes damages to cards. So I think that's a key factor of why, one, Futera cards are built very well, and then the second bit is they're also protected before they've even sent to you, which is quite a key thing.
Yeah, I think there's, I know that we've got a couple of advantages on that front. Not huge print runs.
Yep.
Allows us to spend more time on each card. Of course, they're not perfect.
Yep.
We'd like that to be 100%.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
Which
work
is near
like
impossible.
that. Of course it is.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
But it's interesting that you said about in terms of like how the cards are presented, because our CEO Gwyneth is quite artistic and I know she's she's got a keen eye for detail.
Yep.
I know this because quite frequently some of my stuff gets flagged that gets sent to her in terms of the copy that I write and whatever, because I'm not blessed with a great attention to detail. But one thing that Gwyneth, I think, quite a bit of, she's been a bit of a visionary on in terms of like creating cards. Like our cards, you look at them and they're our cards.
Yep.
And of course, they're not for everybody. But what she's done really well is that, like, if you like Futera cards, you really like Futera cards. There's no kind of like runner that it's like a lot of people think they really like them. They really, really like them. And it works the other way as well. I get people that say, listen, they're not for me. But I think, in terms of how they look, you can tell that somebody's thought about them, aesthetically. Whereas there are some other brands, I'm not going to name names or dig out other brands, of course I'm not, but where I look at their cards and I'm like, they just don't look as pretty to me. Yeah. And I'm not just saying that because I belong to Futera. They just don't. But anyway, the fact that you're seeing that high rate is something we're really proud of.
I think it comes into as well because there's, let's say the other company, there's so many different sets that they provide. So there's so many different kind of plays off of it as such. There's so many different crazy kind of designs, which, personally I don't like. I quite like simplistic cards, which I think Futera do really, really well.
Yeah.
They
like
do
this Ramsdale one here.
That's it. Not that one in particular. The new Tottenham set I'm looking for.
Tottenham, of course you are. Sorry, mate. I picked out the wrong one there. I mean, again, we're talking about like beautiful cards.
Yeah, but on top of that, with the gold frames and the gold plated cards, I think they're unbelievable. They're very, very cool. It actually leads into me. I know one of your questions was probably going to be, what's the biggest card or what's your favourite card that MGC's ever graded from Futera?
Yeah, I never want this podcast, by the way, to be just like a Futera shill because we're trying to provide value. But listen, you know,
Yep.
you're MGC. I'm Futera. So
the
you
thing
tell
is,
me.
at the same time, we grade a hell of a lot of Futera cards, you know, and a lot of our customers like Futera, and a lot of our customers send them into us. So I'm happy to hear and talk about it. But yeah, I was going through the list because I literally sat there last night and I was looking through and I was thinking, okay, I could pick the 1/1 Erling Haaland that we had in recently. I could pick the gold frame Bukayo Saka that we had in 1/1 recently, the Gavi 1/1, and I was going through all of these cards. We could even go back to when we had the Lewis Hamilton next card in, which I think, you know, at one stage was 100,000.
Oh yeah,
card.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, huge. We had
Big
two
one.
of them in. They graded fairly well as well. So that was very cool. We had the Michael Schumacher, which had a bit of his race suit in there from, you know, back in was it 1996? Was it? I think it was that. No, 2006 was it?
I'm not sure.
Can't remember when it was from.
Yeah, it was mid 2000s, wasn't it? That collection.
Yeah, really cool cards. We had a bit of Ayrton Senna's tyre from Grand Prix Silverstone that was in there, which is very, very cool. And he won that race as well.
And that's, you know, again, we're given the context of what happened.
Top draw kind of card as well. Yeah, so I was kind of going through and I was thinking, and then there was one card that stood out for me the whole time, which people will hate him and they'll love it at the same time. And it was actually, and it was such a good card. And the reason why I felt it was so perfect was I could imagine him creating this card for himself. And it was the 1/1 Mike Dean gold frame card. And I just thought it was perfect. Like, it was literally perfect. It's a lovely looking card. It looks great. But I just
creates it for himself.
I could just imagine Mike Dean having that on his mantelpiece at home and going, that's my card there. That's the 1/1. You know, that's the 1/1 gold frame. Don't forget about it.
Because Mike Dean always liked to be the centre of attention.
100%. He was always the centre of attention. I just think that card was perfect. And that came in probably around about 2 months ago, I think that did.
Yeah. It's in I think it was in, maybe in the last unique, maybe.
Yeah. I just thought it was great. I thought it was so, like, iconic, you know.
I get a lot of the memorabilia sent to me before it goes off to our production facility, which I'm very fortunate about. I've told the story before, I think, but you know, I sometimes get it out. It comes to me at my house or whatever, and I get it out before I bring it into the office and keep it safe.
Do you know what you're getting beforehand?
No, it just turns up, which is
that's cool.
Great. So I'm always like really excited opening and I always like to my wife like, it's Haaland's shirt, and she's like, what's a Haaland? And I'm like, this is wasted on you. But that's a really cool part of the job. But I remember getting Mike Dean's and then being like, what? And then messaging Mark and being like, what are we doing? What's going on here? And he was like, wait, I've got something in mind. So that's hilarious. It's funny how you say like random cards. Like this is my favourite, for those of you that are listening and not watching, it's a David Beckham timeout card from the 90s. He's got a roll neck sweater on and a dog on the card. Like that's just berserk.
Random,
it's berserk. But that's another thing I think we've done quite well is every now and again you'll just get a card. You'll be like, what's going on?
Yeah, a little bit of a curveball thrown in there and stuff, which is quite
that's
cool.
part of the excitement, isn't it? All right, so... okay, so customer satisfaction now. Let's talk a little bit about this. You know, we won't do too much longer, Jake, 'cause I know you've travelled quite far today. But I just want to talk about this because I imagine, you know, in the game that we're in, people are very passionate about the cards. They spend a lot of money on them cards. How do you deal with it where there's a little bit of conflict? You know, when I met you today, you just got an email off a customer and, you know, they weren't very happy with it, with a grade. How do you manage these situations? Because they can be quite tender, can't they?
Yeah, it's hard. I think the thing with MGC is we're very open in terms of the fact that we're always there for a conversation. If you want to phone us, if you want to message us, if you want to email us, if you want to even turn up and visit us, you know, the door's always open and we'll take them conversations, whether, you know, they're good or bad. You know, a lot of the questions are sometimes, you know, people are disappointed if a card gets a low grade. And it's something that I really want to improve on for next year, is giving that kind of visibility of why the grade was that, which is something that we haven't been able to do with the volumes that we're doing at the moment. We can take a card and the customer can come back in and we can show them the details and go, oh yeah, this is why it graded like this. But I want to be able to physically show someone on a screen so they can scan the back of their phone and go, okay, what was wrong with this card? This was wrong here. And they can actually go and point it out themselves. And then they go, actually, you know what? It did get the right grade. The grader was grading that card right. Rather than it being, this is their opinion, this is my opinion, and they might not see what we see, you know, and
they probably don't.
They probably
they're not trained to.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's the key thing that I'd like to improve this year, and something that will come in with the software that we're kind of introducing at the moment, which will be very key to kind of showcasing that and giving more details to the customer, because I think that's very important. You know, a lot of people want subgrades. Subgrades is something that I'm open to, but I'd rather go more in depth of more of an analysis on the card rather than just 4 subgrades as such. Let's
that's
go really
good,
into
mate.
it.
Because that's like that transparency, innit?
So, yep.
Because you can't argue with that then if you're laying it out and you say,
Yeah.
well, this is what we got.
This is what we saw. This is the issues here. But on the flip side as well, like I said, we've got 800 members now using the MGC service on the monthly membership service, which just keeps growing and growing and growing. So we're obviously doing a good job in that sense. Our kind of European office, which is opening at the end of the year in Hungary. So we'll have a physical office in Hungary as well.
Mr. Worldwide.
That's it. We're getting there. We're kind of growing in small little areas where we just want to test out the market and see how we can get on there and seeing if we can, grow on a kind of global scale rather than just in the UK. And that's going really well. And the feedback we've had from, people in Hungary where we're kind of getting asked to go on TV shows and be in newspapers and stuff like that because it's big news for them that a grading company is coming to their kind of, hometown in Budapest and Croatia where we went recently. So, yeah, I think we're doing well on the customer service side. I think a lot of people, mention a lot of the time with MGC that we're always responding to messages, we're always responding to emails. If we do drop the ball, then we'll hold our hands up and say, yep, we made a mistake, but we'll put it right. I think that's one of the things that we do quite well.
Yeah, you got to play to your strengths.
Yeah, so,
and that's the beauty of being a little bit more nimble.
Yep.
You're able to do that. You're able to have those lines of communications.
Yeah.
I think that's actually something that, I know we've been around a lot longer than MGC, but in terms of like where we are in the space, there's this big, huge mammoth brands, the likes of Tops or whatever. We're not as big as them. We openly admit that in terms of our coverage. However, what we're able to do then is I'm able to kind of be more, I jump on Instagram and just have a conversation with collectors. And you sound like you get that, mate.
Yeah,
and,
we do. I think the trick is how you do that when you get big. That's going to be the biggest challenge. And we will get big. I'm no doubt about it. I look at the growth that we've had and it's only going up. But how do we recreate that on a global scale? I can't be on a live video call, with X, Y, and Z in every single country and stuff like that and relate to that audience well enough. So it's how we keep that going is going to be quite difficult, but something we'll work out.
It's certainly a challenge, but I think it's possible. I think the future, I think a lot of the brands in the future are going to be built around individuals. I think you look at someone like Elon Musk, he's almost like a personal brand, even though that people naturally associate Tesla with him, SpaceX or whatever. And I think, you won't be able to talk to every single customer anymore. But I don't see a reason why once a week you can't go on a live and just talk to all of the customers. And I think more business owners now, I think there's been a pivot now. I think there was a time when, business owners would be away from the front lines and that you wouldn't know who they were. Now, the world's changed, mainly because of social media. So I think you'll get it. You'll get it because you're already going in that direction.
I kind of sit there sometimes and think like, if I'm the face of MGC, does that make us smaller? Or if I'm hid behind MGC, are we bigger? It's that kind of thing there. Do people perceive MGC to be bigger or smaller, depending on how much I show myself?
I don't think it depends on that. Honestly, I think that's it's like a false dichotomy.
It's a strange one though, isn't it? Because you're thinking about
I get it.
Because I'm quite a young guy, I'm 30 years old, and people go, 30-year-old running a business or whatever. Is he kind of mature enough? Is he,
honestly, I think,
but maybe it's out the window now, or maybe that's just kind of old kind of.
It is. I mean, look at a lot of no one questioned Zuckerberg when he was at that.
True. True.
Now, so I'm just thinking, coming to my mind, Stephen Bartlett.
You're putting me in some crazy names here.
well, these are people that you're probably aspiring to as an entrepreneur, right? But Stephen Bartlett, he's not that old. I think he's probably the same age as me, and I'm not that much older than you. So I get it, mate. I do get it, but I think you might be overthinking that a little bit. But anyway, my point was actually to give you a compliment and say, you're doing this already. I see the videos where you pop up, or in the future, Jake, you pay someone else, you find somebody who can do it like me. I don't know, for Futera, because the guys who run Futera don't jump on Instagram.
Yeah,
so
I do enjoy it though as well.
Do you?
I do enjoy it. At first, I was kind of like nervous about it. I'm still kind of worried a little bit about it. I'm always kind of perfectionist and I want to make sure everything's perfect. The issue I've got is I haven't got a media team behind me to go and make sure that we've got, the best camera equipment or the best kind of setup and things like that. So, with kind of when you're doing these videos and doing this kind of content, it is a little bit makeshift. You're trying to put something together that's, you want it to be a production piece, but really it's kind of, essentially a kind of a stand with an iPhone on.
Yeah.
Which is able to be done now, but taking it to the next level is something I'd like to do, to create that content that's better out there. Because I think we're at a stage now where we're creating good content. It's good and it's fun and people enjoy it. But to reach a bigger audience, we need to make the content better. And then when I see stuff like this that you've done today with this kind of studio, this is like, okay, this excites me.
Yeah.
Because this is, taking it to the next level. Let's be honest, in the UK, I know there's a couple of podcasts out there and things but no one's got a studio as well as this. No one's got the camera equipment that you've got here to set this up. And I know obviously Futera are a big brand, but it's impressive to see. And it's good that someone is going in that direction, because it makes me now go back and go, yeah, okay, well, I need a podcast studio now in our office for the next time around. I need to make sure our production is better and things like that. So it's good that people are taking it to the next level.
It is for sure. And as I said, you've done a really good job across multiple different fronts, which is evidence of the success that you've had. So we'll try and wrap this up fairly soon. I've got two more questions, and then we'll just talk about this magazine as well that you've recently launched. So just quickly, technology. Is there anything coming down the line that, blockchain orientated, that people should be thinking about when it comes to grading? Is there anything that you've got your eye on?
Yes, I think the aspect that I want to introduce to MGC is so we haven't got anything like in terms of blockchain or anything like that in the process, NFTs wise as such. We tried it beforehand, didn't work because we didn't really have the process in place. But one thing that we are going to do further down the line is every single card that MGC grades will have a photo of when it's scanned, will have a scan of when it comes in, and it'll have a photo and a scan of when it comes out. So you'll get a photo of what the card looks unencapsulated, and you'll get a photo of it looks encapsulated. That then opens the doors to do a lot of things with, because then you've got a digital version of that card, for the customer to even share it, to store it away in maybe like a virtual binder or something along the lines of that we might end up going into. And then that could then become essentially a way of people, selling cards. Obviously, people have got a platform now on eBay and things like that to sell cards, but it's something we might look into with a virtual binder as such, where people can have all their cards stored in there, and they can showcase what they want to showcase and not showcase what they don't want to showcase, and potentially sell things through it as well. So that's kind of an idea that we've got. But at the moment, we're kind of pulling the data, and we're going to be collecting the images of each individual card, and that will then build that up to be able to kind of create this virtual binder for people. Interesting.
I always get messages all the time on my LinkedIn, and it's not something that we really think about too much at the moment. So we've got a lot going on, but like the whole digital aspect, and I'm big into the blockchain stuff anyway. So I'm going to be intrigued to see where you go with that, mate. I think you're probably well positioned as well.
I think it opens it up for something like that. We could go down the route of, turning cards into NFTs and stuff. I think the only thing I think that's the problem with it is the licensing of stuff and that, and then you end up starting to get into a sticky situation with that.
That's exactly the problem.
Yeah,
by the way, and that's the biggest hurdle.
So that's probably why we've kind of stayed away from it as such. I'd love to do one day kind of. I mean, I've been thinking about this for so long. I really want to get to a stage where we have. When we have more data, which we're very close to with the grade, where it'll have all the data that we can see, we can then find, okay, well, you're our biggest collector of this, and we can start creating kind of collector sets so people can build sets online, similar to what PSA do with kind of their set registry and things like that. And then what I'd love to do is open up events. So it's like, okay, well, the top 100, football card collectors that grade with MGC, we'll put on a big event for you, and you can come down, have a dinner. We'll grade some cards for you there and then. We'll put on some performances for you and stuff like that, and hold these events, which I think can then go into maybe a blockchain kind of style of thing, where to get in you have to have earned X, Y, and Z gamification points that you can then unlock the door to get into that kind of venue. But yeah, there's loads of different routes for it. I mean, we're kind of not there as such, but always open to it. I think it's a crazy world that could see a lot of stuff happen with kind of blockchain and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. So just quickly then, tell us about your magazine.
I'm really proud of this.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, really proud of it.
Have a look through this one.
Yeah, go for it.
So for those of you that are listening, MGC, Jake launched their own magazine that's dedicated to the hobby. Or is it more along the lines of? I mean, I'm just looking through now. So every card in here is slabbed, obviously.
Yeah, so it's the way that we've done it, and it might change. It's been adopted as kind of the hobby magazine in the UK. There's a nice one-of-one Futera Harlan down there, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, what I wanted it to build it for was to showcase customers' cards. So I wanted to, I think there's nothing cooler than kind of seeing a company like ourselves or PSA or whatever showcase your card, whether it be on social media or whether it be in a physical platform like this. And I just thought it was very, very cool. People could go on there and actually, look through the magazine and potentially see one of their cards that they graded with us in there. So it's kind of giving that back to them. And then there's some really cool articles in there regarding kind of, Pokemon sports cards, reaching out to kind of experts that we've got there of, of what they're collecting at the moment, what they're investing in as such, and kind of going from that.
It's brilliant, mate.
Yeah, it's a really cool piece.
There's something quite cool about seeing a card in a slab on in a magazine as well.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I've got a couple of copies in there of in the office of some old hobby magazines from the 90s.
Yep.
And they've got references to Futera in them, and it reminds me a little bit of that. It's something quite wholesome.
It's been really cool, and we've run multiple parallels of it as well. So we've had the collector elements of it as well. So we had the 1 of 1, the out of 10, the out of 50. We did obviously issue 1 for the Messi one, which I think sold 500. This one's I think around about approaching 600 or maybe hit 600 now sold. So we've sold a lot of magazines on there, which was quite cool. And there was a lot of customers as well, which was really kind of it's frustrating, disappointing, but also really good at the same time, where they've never graded MGC before, but they just like reading the magazine,
right?
Which I thought was quite cool. Obviously I'd love to convert them and come over and use us and that. But
so they're buying the magazine, but they don't grade it.
Yeah, so obviously we can see what they purchased for, and that's
a bit silly.
Yeah, it is
a
little bit.
Well, maybe this will tip them over the edge.
Maybe it will, but at the same time, they're enjoying the content we put out, and that's cool enough for me. Because they might not use us for grading, they might not grade at all. They might just like reading the magazine, but they might tell a friend that they're the guys to grade with. So yeah, but I'm really proud of this magazine. It's been something that we've got to put out there. Someone graded one of the actual copies, not with us because we don't grade comics or magazines, but someone graded one of the magazines. I think a few people more have got the idea of doing that now, and they did it with CGC over in America. And the magazine got a 9.9 grade. I've been told in the magazine world that a 10 is near impossible. The lady who graded it, she said that she has graded over 100 magazines with CGC, and that was the highest grade she's ever got. She's never got higher than a 9.8, so a 9.9.
Brilliant, Jay.
So yeah, we were very proud of it. We put a lot of work into it, a lot of money into it. The quality of it,
they
think,
look
premium.
They look premium. Mate.
Yeah.
Again, being a guy at Futera, I know what premium cars look like.
100%.
They look premium. They feel very beautiful. I like it. Can I have a copy?
Yeah, you got a copy, mate.
Cool,
yeah,
cool. I was going to I'll send one over to the guys actually at HQ over in Asia because they'll love to see that.
That'd be good.
I think Gwyneth especially will love to flick through this. Right, okay. So just finally then, what advice have you got to any collectors then that haven't graded any cards yet? What should they do if they want to grade with MGC?
So if you want to grade with MGC, obviously majestygrading.com. So probably look at kind of trying out a couple of cards at first. Pre-grade them yourself, even if you've never graded a card before, just have a look under a magnification or look under a light and just kind of see what you see, and then mark down and go, okay, I think this one's going to grade an 8, I think this one's going to grade a 9, this one's my 10 chance, and then submit it and try it out and see how good you are at grading. I think that's a great idea to do as a first start. If you're miles out, okay, well, you're probably off and there's something there, and give us a call and we can explain it to you. If you bang on, okay, well then you've got an eye for it, and you can probably grade cards and get good grades each time to kind of figure it out. If you're at any shows, we're at a lot of shows, a lot of card shows we attend. We're always there on kind of the ground. So come and see us. A lot of the time we offer kind of a free grade or at least a discounted price at a card show. So come and see us at a card show, have a chat with us, show us some cards, and we'll kind of tell you what the best thing is to grade. If you've ever got any questions, emails, messages, phone lines always open as well. So yeah.
And I can, by the way, if you do decide to, use MGC, I can vouch as well. Because I literally, when I saw you in the car park, you were responding to a customer. So, you do give that customer satisfaction is certainly there. Well, thanks for coming on, Jake.
Nice one, man.
Appreciate it, mate. And remember to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and comment if you've got anything you want to add. The algorithm really likes that. So thank you for listening or watching this edition of Soccer Cards and Chill. See you next time.